Hello, little adventurers, and welcome back to our magical world. I'm so excited you're here today because we're diving deep under the sea to the shimmering city of Jiggletown. Was the brightest, most joyful place you could ever imagine. Its homes made of glowing coral, and its streets paved with sparkling sea glass, were all lit by the magnificent crystal crown. This wasn't just any crown. It sat atop the highest spire of the royal palace, collecting moonlight and starlight, and blanketing the entire city in a gentle, warm glow. Every jellyfolk, from the tiniest dot to the wisest elder, loved the crown. It was the heart of their city, a symbol of peace and light. Our hero, a young and curious jellyfolk named JellyJiggle, loved to swim up to the highest reef just to watch the crown sparkle as it lit up his beloved home. One morning, something was terribly wrong. Jiggletown was dark. A hush fell over the city as the jellyfolk woke up, not to their usual gentle light, but to a dim, gray morning. Panic spread like a ripple in the water. JellyJiggle swam as fast as his fins could carry him to the palace square. A crowd had already gathered, murmuring and pointing up at the highest spire. It was empty. The crystal crown was gone. The beautiful light that protected and warmed them had vanished. Without it, the city felt cold and strange. The vibrant colors of the coral homes looked dull, and the sparkling sea glass streets were just gray stones. A shiver of fear went through the crowd. "What will we do?" a small jellyfolk cried. "The gloom kelp will grow over everything. The grumpy groupers will come out of their cave. The royal guards, with their stern faces and shiny pearl armor, immediately started their investigation." The head guard, Captain Sternfin, addressed the worried citizen. "We have found tracks leading away from the palace," he announced, his voice booming through the square. "Strange, hard tracks. They lead directly towards the Shellfolk shores." A gasp went through the crowd. The Shellfolk were their neighbors, a quiet and sturdy people who lived in beautiful, spiraled shells. They were different from the soft, jiggly jellyfolk, and some of the guards had always been suspicious of them. "The Shellfolk have always been jealous of our light," another guard shouted. "This must be their doing. We must march to their shores and take back what is ours." The crowd began to chant, "Get the crown! Get the crown!" Anger was bubbling up, replacing the fear. They wanted someone to blame, and the Shellfolk were the easiest target.
But JellyJiggle felt a knot in his tummy, and it wasn't from fear. It didn't feel right.
He knew some Shellfolk. He had traded shiny pebbles with a young Shellfolk named Shelly just last week. She was kind and had a wonderful laugh. Would she and her people really steal their crown? It just didn't make sense. While everyone else was preparing for a confrontation, JellyJiggle decided to do his own investigating. He swam back to the palace spire, his big eyes scanning every nook and cranny. The guards had pointed out the hard tracks, but JellyJiggle noticed something else they had missed. Tucked behind a pillar was a tiny shimmering scale, no bigger than his fingertip. It wasn't hard and rough like a Shellfolk shell. It was smooth and iridescent, sparkling with all the colors of the rainbow. He had never seen a scale like it before. He also noticed faint swirling patterns in the silt on the ground, almost like a joyful dance had taken place. These weren't the heavy dragging tracks of a thief. This was something else entirely. Clutching the tiny scale, JellyJiggle had an idea. He swam away from the path to the Shellfolk shores and headed towards the whispering seaweed forest, a place known for its mischievous inhabitants. As he got closer, he heard faint giggles echoing through the tall, swaying kelp. He followed the sound, his heart thumping with curiosity, not fear. Deeper in the forest, found Tim. A group of tiny, sparkling sea sprites were playing a game, tossing something bright and shiny between them. It was the crystal crown. They weren't being malicious. They were giggling and laughing, mesmerized by the way the light bounced off their shimmering wings as they played catch with it. The sprites were creatures of pure play and had no idea of the trouble they had caused. They just saw the prettiest, sparkliest toy they had ever laid eyes on and wanted to play with it. JellyJiggle swam forward slowly, not wanting to scare them. "Hello," he said softly. The sprites stopped their game and looked at him with wide, curious eyes. "That's a very beautiful toy you have," JellyJiggle said with a gentle smile. "It's our city's light. Everyone at home is very scared and sad without it." The lead sprite, whose wings matched the little scale JellyJiggle had found, looked down at the crown, then back at Her cheerful face fell as she realized their fun had caused so much worry. We didn't know," she whispered. "It was just so sparkly. We only wanted to play. They hadn't meant any harm at all. They were just like little kids who had borrowed a toy without asking." JellyJiggle knew he had a choice. He could get angry, scold them, and take the crown back by force. That's what the gods wanted to do to the Shellfolk. But looking at their sad little faces, he knew that wouldn't solve anything. It would just spread more unhappiness. Instead, he said, "I know you didn't mean to cause trouble. How about this? You help me bring the crown back, and then I promise I will come back and we can play a different game. I have a collection of shiny sea glass. You would love—" The sprite's eyes lit up. Friendship and a promise of future fun were much better than being yelled at. They eagerly agreed, and together they carefully carried the heavy crystal crown back towards Gig. When they arrived at the edge of the city, they saw the royal guards marching towards the Shellfolk shores, their spears held high. "Stop!" JellyJiggle shouted. Everyone turned in surprise. They saw JellyJiggle followed by a group of shy but determined sea sprites, carrying the crystal crown. Captain Sternfin was stunned. "The sea sprites," he stammered. "But the tricks!" JellyJiggle explained everything, the tiny scale, the playful patterns, and how the sprites had simply borrowed the crown to play. The anger in the crowd melted away, replaced by relief and a little bit of shame. They had been so quick to blame their neighbors, the Shellfolk, without any real proof. They had let fear turn into anger. The crystal crown was placed back on the spire, and once again a warm, beautiful light spread across Jiggle. The city cheered, brighter and louder than ever before. JellyJiggle turned to the crowd and the gods. "It's easy to get angry and point fingers when we're scared," he said, his voice clear and true. "But it's much stronger to look for the truth and to offer forgiveness." He looked at the little sprites, who were hiding behind him. "They made a mistake, but they didn't mean to hurt us. And we almost made a much bigger mistake by blaming the Shellfolk." Captain Sternfin looked down, then walked over to Jelly. "You are wise, young one. You taught us all. A lesson today. The jellyfolk learned to be less suspicious and more understanding. JellyJiggle kept his promise and often visited the sea sprites in the whispering seaweed forest, bringing his sea glass for them to play with. He even invited his Shellfolk friend, Shelly, and soon all three groups were playing together. They learned that even though they looked different, they all shared the same sea and the same love for laughter and friendship. Jiggletown became known not just for its brilliant light, but for its even more brilliant heart. And it was all because one little jellyfolk chose forgiveness over blame and friendship over fighting. So, my little adventurers, what did we learn from JellyJiggle today? We learned that forgiving someone who made a mistake is so much more powerful than punishing them. It opens a door for friendship and understanding and makes our own world a much brighter and happier place. Thank you so much for joining me on this wonderful journey to I hope you had as much fun as I did. If you enjoyed our story, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more amazing adventures. Until next time, keep your hearts bright and full of kindness. Bye-bye.